Good evening, everybody. And I want to welcome everybody to day 3 of the Evolve Summit 2026. And this is our last talk for the summit. And for those of you who may not know who I am, my name is Michelle Paczesny. I am the founder of Bossladies Creating Empires, international bestselling author, business strategist, podcast, and summit creator. And I'm a woman who deeply is passionate about helping women stop shrinking and finally build the business and the life they know they were meant for. And before I begin my talk today, I just want to say thank you to everyone, um, all the speakers, to everyone that's been here. I want to thank everyone for investing in themselves. I want to thank you for showing up for your growth. And I want to thank you for saying yes to your evolution because that matters. I created the summit because I truly believe women need spaces where they feel empowered to grow, evolve, collaborate, become visible, and become the next version of themselves. And today I want to have a real conversation with you, not just about business, but about becoming the woman capable of carrying the vision you've been given. I want to start by just asking a simple question. What if the life you want, the business you want, the visibility you want isn't actually waiting for another strategy? What if it's waiting for another version of you? You know, I, I think so many women in business, you know, they're not lacking talent. They're not lacking ideas. They're not lacking passion. They're not lacking purpose. What I think they're lacking is execution. Now, when I say execution, I don't mean perfection. What I mean is taking consistent action, the willingness to keep moving, even when it feels uncomfortable, even when it feels messy, even when nobody's clapping yet. Because the truth is, most women aren't stuck because they don't know what to do. Most women are stuck because they keep waiting for the perfect moment to finally become the woman they are capable of being. And that moment never comes. When I first started my journey, I started my entrepreneurial journey back in 2011. And I didn't have any idea what I was doing. I did not have the perfect plan. I didn't know where to start. I I didn't even have confidence. And at that time, I didn't know how things were going to work out. And honestly, I think a lot of women think successful women started confident. But you know what? We didn't. I know I didn't. We started uncertain. We started nervous. We started scared, uncomfortable, but we moved anyway. I remember sitting there thinking, who am I to do this? I would see other women online and think they're more qualified, they're more polished, they know exactly what they're doing. Meanwhile, I was overthinking every single move. And I think a lot of women do that. We compare somebody else's chapter 20 to our chapter 1. And because we don't feel fully ready, we stay stuck. But one day I realized something. Nobody was coming to save me. Nobody was going to magically build my confidence for me. I had to become the woman willing to move before she felt fully ready. That was the shift. And honestly, that changed everything because every level of growth in my business came after a moment that felt uncomfortable. Tell me in the comments, have you ever had that moment where you just felt uncomfortable? Maybe speaking was uncomfortable, visibility was uncomfortable, leadership was uncomfortable, going live was uncomfortable, even hosting summits was uncomfortable. My first summit. But I realized something powerful. The uncomfortable action is usually connected to your next level. And too many women stay stuck trying to avoid discomfort instead of understanding that discomfort is often part of evolution. You know, I want you to tell me in the comments if you ever thought yourself out of an opportunity. I want you to also tell me in the comments if fear has ever stopped you from posting something, speaking up, or becoming visible. And then take a moment, look in the comments, see what others are saying. Because the one thing I want you to know, you're not alone. And that's exactly why this conversation matters. I hear people say things like, just believe in yourself, just stay motivated, just think positive. But building a business requires more than motivation. It requires execution. And here's what execution looks like: showing up when you don't feel confident, or posting even when the engagement is low, continuing even when no one understands your vision yet, learning while you're moving, growing while uncomfortable, failing, getting back up, trying again anyway. Execution is consistency. And I think that's the part nobody talks about enough. But everyone wants that outcome. But very few people want to become the person capable of creating it. We all want success. We all want visibility. We all want impact. But But not everybody is willing to become consistent enough to create those things. Consistency doesn't mean perfection. Consistency means you show up again and again and again. Even when the engagement is low, even when nobody comments, even when you doubt yourself, because a lot of women quit too early. Think of it this way: they plant the seeds, okay? Then they dig them up a week later and they're wondering why nothing grew. Success requires repetition, and repetition builds momentum. That's how businesses grow. That's how your confidence grows. And that's how leaders are built. The woman you want to become, she already exists. She's not magical. She's not fearless. She's not perfect. But what she is consistent. She keeps showing up. She keeps learning. She keeps moving. She keeps evolving. Even when she doubts herself. That's where real confidence comes from. Not from thinking about action, from taking action. Confidence is built through movement, not waiting. And I think more women need to hear this. You're not going to think your way into confidence. You build confidence by proving to yourself that you can survive uncomfortable moments. Every live video, every conversation, every post, every launch, every room you walk into, you're teaching yourself, I can do hard things. That's how confidence is built. Can I be honest? Some women are addicted to preparation because preparation feels safer than visibility. Planning feels productive. Research feels productive. Organizing feels productive. But if you're planning without execution, that changes nothing. And at some point, you have to move. And that's the hard truth. I want everyone watching right now to think about this honestly. And if you feel comfortable, you can put it in the comments. What have you been avoiding because it feels uncomfortable? I'm going to give everybody a few seconds to think about that. I'm going to take a drink of water here. Maybe it's visibility for you. Maybe it's leadership. Maybe it's finally talking about your offer. Maybe it's going live. Maybe it's networking. Maybe it's showing up consistently. Now, I want you to ask yourself this: what could happen if you stopped waiting and started moving consistently. Doesn't have to be perfect, but it needs to be consistently. Because consistency changes people. Consistency builds businesses. It builds confidence. It builds leadership. And the women who evolve are usually the women who decided to keep moving even when they doubted themselves. And I want you to all do something with me right now. I don't want you to wait, not tomorrow, not next week, but right now. I want you to think about one thing in your business that feels uncomfortable. Just one thing. The one thing you keep avoiding. And then I want you to ask yourself, what am I afraid of? And if you're comfortable, go ahead, you can put that in the comments. Because most of the time, it's not the action itself, it's the fear of judgment, the fear of failure, the fear of being seen, the fear of not being enough. But I want to tell you something powerful. The uncomfortable action is usually the doorway to your next level. So here's what I want you to do. Within the next 24 hours, I challenge all of you to take one uncomfortable action. Just one. Not 10, only one. And for some of you, that action may be go live for 5 minutes. Create a post. Share your offer. Maybe it's sending that email. Introduce yourself. Start a conversation with somebody else. Be visible. Because courage is not built through thinking. It's built through movement. And every time you take that action, despite of the fear, you're teaching yourself that you are capable. And that's how evolution happens. We're living in a time where visibility matters more than ever. And it's authentic visibility, not fake perfection. People are craving realness, connection, leadership, authenticity. And some women are waiting until everything looks polished before they show up. Meanwhile, the women growing the fastest are the women willing to be visible consistently, even imperfectively. Doesn't have to be perfect because visibility creates opportunities. And if nobody knows you exist, they can't work with you. Your next level requires your participation. You can't pray for growth while avoiding the action. You can't ask for visibility if you're hiding. You can't ask for impact if you're staying silent. At some point, you have to decide no more waiting, no more shrinking, no more overthinking every move. You move anyway. That's what evolution looks like. And I don't want this conversation to just inspire you temporarily. So I created something for you. It's called the Evolve Action Guide. And this guide is designed to help you stop overthinking and start executing. And after my session, I will put the guide link in the comments because I don't want you leaving the summit motivated for one day. I want you to leave with momentum. So be sure you grab the Evolve Action Guide after this session. I also want you to know that the Becoming Her membership is coming soon. This is going to be a space where women who are really truly ready to evolve, grow, become visible, build confidence, and step into leadership with support and accountability. Because women do not evolve in isolation. Women evolve in environments that challenge them, support them, and remind them who they are becoming. So before I close out tonight's session, I want to leave you with something personal. It's a letter from me to you. Okay. And this is to the woman who knows she's meant for more. You don't have to have everything figured out before you begin. You don't need the perfect confidence. You don't need the perfect clarity. You don't need permission. You just need the willingness to take the next step, one action at a time, one decision at a time, one brave moment at a time. Because the woman you're becoming is built through consistency, not perfection. And I know there's going to be moments where you doubt yourself, moments where you question if you're capable, moments where you wonder if your dreams are too big, moments where your fear tries to convince you to stay small. But I hope you move anyway. I hope you choose to become visible anyway. I hope you choose to trust yourself anyway. Because your voice matters. Your vision matters. Your leadership matters. And the world doesn't need another woman hiding her gifts. It needs women willing to execute. So evolve. Show up. Take that uncomfortable action. Keep moving and become the woman your future is waiting for. I want all of you to make one decision. Not next week, not next month, but today. Decide that you are no longer available for shrinking. Decide that your vision matters enough to execute. Decide that your future deserves your consistency. Because one uncomfortable action changes everything. So, before we officially close out day 3 of the Evolve Summit, I want to take this time to say thank you to every single speaker, every woman who showed up, every woman who shared, commented, connected, and allowed herself to grow through these conversations. This summit was never just about business. It was about evolution. It was about women giving themselves permission to become visible, more confident, more aligned, and more empowered in who they are becoming. And I hope that these last few days, you leave here understanding this. You don't need to wait for permission to evolve. You don't need to wait until you're fully ready. You just need to be willing to take the next step, one uncomfortable action at a time. So before we close, I want to encourage all of you to go back, watch the summit replays, and engage with the speakers. Comment on their talks, connect with them, support them, follow them. Because every single woman who spoke at this summit took an uncomfortable action. They showed up. They shared their voice. They became visible. They pushed past fear and they executed. And I think that deserves a round of applause. So please make sure you support these incredible women and continue these conversations beyond the summit. And one last thing, tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern, right here inside my Zoom room, I am hosting our Evolve Summit celebration and networking event. And I want you to know this invitation is not just for our speakers, it's for everybody. My community, the speakers community, the women who's been a part of this summit. You know, if you came in the lives with us, or even if you watch the replay, this celebration is open to all. So please come join us. Come and say hi. Tell us who you are. Tell us a little bit about you. Network, connect, collaborate, meet other incredible women who are growing, evolving, building alongside you. Because that's how real community is built. Not through just watching content, but through connection. So I would absolutely love to see you there. And again, thank you for being a part of the Evolve Summit 2026. Have a great evening.